I'm Susana Sandoval, and I'm here in Washington, D.C. for the rally for keeping families unified, families belong together. And I've been here for close to a week in D.C. Doing what most advocates do, using my voice, making in-person visits, making phone calls to senators and congressional members in order to get change in policy, to figure out what legislative efforts are actually being done. I came in specifically to help organize and help support some of the other actions with a lot of the major organizations. In general, I was part of the group of 600 plus women and men that were arrested for civil disobedience just several days ago. And today we've been marching with children that have come in. I'm specifically marching with a delegation of children from National Domestic Workers Alliance. And this group is very special to me because it's part of a larger national immigration reform network of many organizations that are women-led, and children have also been able to have their voices heard as well, as you just heard.
So could you tell me about your political activism in Chicago?
Sure. So I'm born and raised on the south side of the city of Chicago. Fortunately or unfortunately, Chicago is known as one of the most segregated cities in our nation. And the work that I've done, my path has been to share the work that my ancestors have done as Native Americans and our indigenous peoples working together. Most recently, we have done work. I'll start backwards and forwards. So in April, I attended the 17th session of the Permanent Forum of Indigenous Peoples, where I was appointed as a Human Rights Commissioner. And the reason why I was given that appointment was because we help organize groups of people nationally and internationally that included, decades of work in regards to other people. And there was a push during that session in April to create 3 new commissions, 1 for the protection of Mother Earth, 2 for the protection of the defense of culture and language, and 3 for the defense of human rights of indigenous peoples. Even though there's been 17 years of the UN's work, at the very local level, we're still seeing that people are being affected by the lack of a change of policy and law.
And okay, so can you tell me more about what happened here? What was the actual action that was happening here today?
Today we marched from Lafayette Plaza. We had a rally. We had a speaker agenda of different human beings, and I'm using that term very purposefully. Doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or if you've done this for 1 day or 1 hour, or you've done this for a decade or 2 decades or 3 decades of using your voice and using the power of communication. And you're right, your freedom of speech and freedom of assembly and being able to use the rights that are privileges here in the United States. But we wanted to send yet another message nationally of people, giving people an opportunity to voice our opinion publicly to the current administration, that the system that we currently have is faulty. The system that we currently have continues to separate families. The systems that we continue to perpetuate violence with are insufficient to define what America is. America does not separate her children. America was not founded on principles of family separation. America, and I'm using the word America very purposely again, before the United States of America became the United States of America, there were Native peoples here that looked at the entire continent as one family, as all relatives. And in our communities, we believe that we are all related, that we are all relatives. So regardless of whether you're red, yellow, black, brown, white, purple, pink, green, whatever color you happen to be, that God, the Creator, sent you to this earth. Whatever gender you are, we accept you the way that you are. America was founded on the principles of the protection of immigrants' rights. Our founding fathers were immigrants from other countries. And even if you came on the Mayflower, even if you're a descendant of any of the signers of the Constitution, you realize that the work that needs to continue is a unification of a human family. And what we need is true change, again, through policy and actual law. An executive order from the executive branch is not permanent change to our political systems and our laws. The executive order that we received during the Obama administration that stopped some of the family separation momentarily for about 2 years, and then we had a discussion with the Supreme Court, with yet another branch of our government, about what the standard would be in order to process immigration requests, applications, and emergency situations where families were needing, and children and women were needing asylum and refugee status because of situations in their home countries. America was founded on principles, and we have had a long-standing history and experience of protecting others. In saying that, we need change. True change comes when our two chambers, both in the Senate chamber and in the Congress, that the two come together and pass a bipartisan bill. We need true change with our legislators actually talking to each other, regardless of the party that you are affiliated with, to come and have a true discussion and debate. And if they're having issues having that discussion and debate and calling for that discussion, we the people have rights to ask for joint committee hearings, to ask for those discussions to be done publicly and nationally, so that testimonies of people who are affected by the lack of change, that people can actually come to DC and share their testimonies. We have a lot of great leadership right now in both the Senate and Congress. We need their voices to actually lead. We had the discussion on the floor, literally on the floor of the Senate building, of the Hart building, where we physically sat down and kept asking the folks that came out in support, no more talk. We want law, pass a law, no more talk, pass a law. The reason why the chant was done was because we are asking our legislators who were hired by us, who were elected by us, that represent us and not their personal interests or the interests of other economic interests in our country, to actually make change. If you are a concerned citizen, you should be picking up the phone and calling your senator, calling your congressional representative, and getting involved. You should be registering to vote if you haven't voted yet. There's always an opportunity to exercise democracy and to actually grow what the definition of democracy is.
ICE! Abolish ICE! Abolish ICE!
Pick up the phone and call your senator. Voice your opinion. The calls are tallied. Every senator and every congressional representative has staff that are tallying your phone calls, that are tallying your emails. Take the time in your community to ask who are the people that have the necessity and the need for doing this kind of work, for having this kind of protection. If you are a church member, ask your pastor to host a town hall meeting. If you are a member of some type of political organization and you're interested in having a public discussion, reach out to another organization and ask people to pull together a panel discussion. If you're interested in registering voters, ask someone. Go online. You can Google just about everything these days. There's someone who's willing to come out and actually register voters, become a deputy registrar, register yourself to vote if you have not voted. Your package as a citizen includes your right to vote. It includes your freedom of speech. It includes your ability to speak out. We're very privileged here in the United States. I'm very proud to be an American, but part of our love for this country is to show our love with our actions.
And could we talk about direct action as well?
Sure. There's websites where, we have been posting the organizing both online and social media and Facebook, and also actual websites for many, many organizations that are working nationally and internationally together. If you have an interest to march or to help organize, please reach out. Everyone is welcomed. This is not just one group of people's issue. It is a human being issue. It is a human concern for another human.
And do you have and finally, could you send a message to anybody who might be on the fence about getting involved in this issue, might have questions about, where the right is in this issue? Could you send a message to those people?
So, if you are on the wall, literally, yes, and you are undecided about where you stand with the issue, ask somebody who has been involved. Feel free to reach out to people who have been vocal. There are many congressional members that have been vocal already. Feel free to reach out to them. If they're your immediate congressional or senatorial member, great. If you know an organizer, or you know a parish or a community organization that has been active, or you know that in your city perhaps you've been very silent, then reach out to an organization and ask them to help you organize, to teach you. You will not know if you don't ask. You may never know how you can be a part of history. There are human beings that are mobilizing nationally right now, and we need your voice. We're asking you to help us define what America is right now. Everybody's voice is necessary.
And are you going to run for the Senate in Chicago again?
I will run for office again. I tell everybody this. You don't need a title to serve your community. Right now, my purpose is to travel around the country and keep uniting as many people as possible and to help as many women run for office. It is very expensive to run for office in the United States. We have a lot of interests that back particular candidates. I shared before that I ran as a Democrat originally and then ended up running as an independent, and I'm from Illinois. I love my home state and I love my home town, my home city. But the reality is that we need a lot of change, even in the way that we get people elected. So I would tell people, I'm not formally announcing anything right now. What I ask people to do is, if you feel it in concern for education, find a school board, find a library board to get involved with, a park council. There's plenty of opportunities to serve your community. Those positions are as important as a senator and as a Congress. All politics are local. Please get involved. And if you're a woman and you're on the fence of whether you should run or not, there are many women who are willing to help you. Look for the organizations that are willing to fund you and run to serve. Not run to get elected to sit in a seat, but run to serve and be in service to our community too. When you serve representing your immediate community, you also have a responsibility nationally to represent other interests as well and to learn about those other interests. So stay tuned.
Thank you.
You're welcome.